Hi there, so welcome to the next video in this video series. In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about my story. So, where do I begin? It's a very long story and a very colourful story, so I'm going to do my very best to give you a short and quick fire version. Um, so, um, I'm from the UK, Oxford, and I grew up with my mother and father and three brothers, and um, I suffered with 20 years of addiction throughout my life. Um, I first saw this addiction come up. Um, I was like, my father was quite violent and angry, and there's a lot of physical and emotional violence. And it was the real emotional violence that the emotional abuse that really affected me as a child. My mother would always say I'm super sensitive, and I'd always be crying. She couldn't quite get me. And although terrified of my dad, about the age of seven, around the age of seven, I started stealing money from him and buying trading cards and football stickers. And this was the first time I recognized this addiction vibration. And what's really interesting is these unhealed shadow energies, I don't see them so present until the age of seven. And this concept of a guardian angel, I feel they're like holding the space up to that age. And then from the age of seven, which is a magical number in my teachings, it seems that I made a choice to learn from suffering. And that's when the floodgates of my traumas really started opening, and all unhealed energies from past, present, future began to awaken within me. That's not to say I didn't suffer trauma before the age of seven. It just felt that that space was being held very powerful for me. And there's methods I also teach of empowerment to regain that empowerment energy we had prior to seven. So that's when I first recognized it. It was quite a messy time growing up. My dad beating us, screaming, shouting, fighting, both alcoholics, my parents. And they got divorced. And it was really traumatic and really hard. And I really hated myself. And an energy I cleared today actually was a curse. And the curse was to make me unattractive. And to lack abundance. And the metaphor Noirel showed me was me looking in the mirror at myself. Now, when I was a child and I used to look in the mirror at myself, I hated myself. I couldn't stand the sight of myself. And I just wished to be anyone rather than me. This broken little boy, just self-loathing. And I used to dream that and wish that I would be put in an orphanage or a children's home. It was so horrible, and it's so beautiful where I am today. I love myself so much today, and not in a million years would I rather be anyone than who I am through all the hard work that I've put in my shadow work. So from that point on, I had very low self-esteem and was too scared to really speak to girls or really attract girls, because the way that I saw myself was mirrored that nobody else would be attracted to me. I became quite tough from all the beatings, and would be like a kind of protector to my brothers if anyone would mess with them. So let's just go into secondary school. Was really tough. I started smoking weed when I was about 12, and I was taking ecstasy at 13, and then progressing to acid at 14, 15. I had tried crack, heroin, and cocaine, and at school again, very low self-esteem, and the teachers just didn't want to help. They just saw me as a nuisance and as trouble. And my kind of form tutor in the UK, we have a teacher who guides us through the high school years. And so we'd have a class with him every day. He's told me that I would never amount to anything and I would end up in prison. And looking back on it now, it just bounced off me then. But looking back on it now, it's quite a harsh thing to say to a child. He wasn't really capable of getting me or supporting me and getting the best out of me, um, unfortunately. And also, what was quite funny is he taught electronics, and he wouldn't allow me to take electronics because he didn't like me. And so then I was put in another class that I didn't want to do. And later on in life, I'm a fully qualified electrician. It's quite funny and very empowering for me when I can prove people wrong. Also, never going to prison, but very, very close at many, many times. Um, so schooling was just a big, big distraction, just completely diverted and distracted, and in my own little fantasy world and on drugs all the time. So nothing I ever excelled at. Although a year before I left, I knew that I wasn't going to get any GCSEs. So I wrote a letter to 50 engineering companies and sent it off saying my predicted GCSE results, which were a lot higher than what I was expecting. And I managed to gain the job before I even done that. And then I called the college and they said if I do a test, I can complete like English and IT and maths in alongside it. And I passed the test and became an engineer in air conditioning and engineering, electrical work. So I won't go into that side of things, but the engineering mindset has served me very well now in breaking things down in my shadow work and finding solutions and methods to overcome whatever it is I want to overcome. So around the age, I went through the ecstasy era and selling drugs and all of this kind of crap. And then when I hit about 2021, that's when I really got into crack cocaine. And then I just suffered up to the age of 29 when I decided to get some help. And the crack was a real problem for my mental health because I suffered with psychosis and was sectioned in a mental institute at one point. And I was just, because I would smoke crack for 7 days without any sleep and not eat anything. And people would go mad without sleep, never mind all the drugs I was smoking. And I was hallucinating and imagining the police were following me, recording me. People were making a TV show about me. My friends were out to spike me and rob me. And it was all fear-based psychotic energies that were feeding the unhealed shadows within me. And what I later realized is drugs, medicines, whatever you take, it can really open us up. And that's why medicine should be held in a container, in a safe space, safe and setting, because we're blasted wide open and the shadows and unhealed energies within have more space to move around. And so with the crack, those unhealed energies within me were creating mayhem in my psyche and fear-based concepts and suicidal tendencies, etc., which were very challenging to hold. And thus they were just fueling on the vibration of the drugs that I was putting in my body. So my daughter was born, which was 2011, and 2012, which is interesting because this is like the tipping of the vibration from light to dark, that there's going to be more light available today for the mass collective than before, more in the dark. And that was when I decided to go to rehab. And I worked the 12-step program and spent 6 months in rehab. And it was the best thing I'd ever done in my life. It was incredible. So much healing and so much awareness, which has really served me in my life. And it's an amazing program. I would highly recommend it to anyone. It doesn't really serve me today because there's just a couple definitions within it that are not in resonance with my belief systems and who I've become today. But it's an amazing program, which I'm not going to talk about now. You can go online and find lots of amazing information about that program. So, so then after rehab, I was 18 months clean for the first time in my life, and also in rehab, like once I got clean, it was the first time I've been clean in nearly 20 years, um, and all my emotions came back, and it was like my emotions had been stunted in growth from the age of 12. So I felt like this broken 12-year-old in a treatment center, couldn't look in the mirror again, hated the sound of my voice. It was horrific. And yeah, I didn't run away. I just knew that I don't want this shit anymore. And my daughter being born, although I did it for my daughter, while there, I found some worth in myself and then learned to do it for myself. But it was a magical journey. And so with 18 months clean, my mum died, and there was some squabbling with my brothers, and I ran off and relapsed and went on a bender for, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks of crack and heroin. And then I got clean from that. And about 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, I was invited to my first ayahuasca ceremony. And it was terrifying. It was really tough. And I didn't think I would do it again. And I was quite apprehensive before I went there because I'd smoked DMT before. And I thought, oh my God, is this going to be an 8-hour DMT trip? And it wasn't quite, but it wasn't so unsimilar, that first connection to it. I didn't want to do it again, but I decided to work with one-on-one with an ayahuasca space holder to overcome that fear. And I haven't looked back on my medicine work, but over the last few years, there have been a few relapses in between doing my medicine work, shadow work. It's been very challenging with the depths of the energies I've chosen to work with. However, like really mastering the depossession practice, the daily shadow work, the daily program, which was seeded from the 12-step program, but transformed into something very different today. I don't need to do that anymore. And I never knew the date of my clean day. It's something we celebrate in 12 steps, but not something I remembered. And I asked Moira, and she showed me it was the 4th of July. So this 4th of July, which is Independence Day, I celebrated my independence from drug use. And I haven't used drugs. I've hardly used drugs at all in the last 8 years, but there has been a few relapses. But now 4 years in a row, I haven't used anything. And it's a massive accomplishment. And I believe through my inner process and everything I've learned, I can support anyone in overcoming addiction today. And within this organization, we are going to be opening an addiction program in the future. And addicts don't have money, so I'm looking to fund this for free so that people can come and really go deeply into learning what this is all about to fully overcome the addiction energy, something very close to my heart. And not only that, it's been such a gift. Without this addiction, it may not have given me the strength, determination to take responsibility and to be so disciplined in my practice of study and evolution. I had no choice. Like, go that way and end up homeless in prison with nothing and no teeth. Or you go this way and work with the plants and study and evolve, and you'll gain everything you could ever desire. So it's a no-brainer. And with humanity, I see humanity just have enough suffering, just enough, so that they can plod along with their lives, distracted with the 9-to-5 grind and all of the distractions in this world. But I see addicts that have the depth of energy that I have is very, very lucky, because they get to a certain point where they reach a point where they can't go any lower. And it's like this gift of desperation. And through that gift of desperation, why it's a gift? It's because they're ready. to start climbing again and to really find change and find real solid practice to transform their inner world, which will be mirrored from their outer world as they progress on their path. So I went to Gabon in 2015 and was initiated with a boga, and it was fascinating, a long story in itself, which I'm not going to go into now. But it didn't deliver the addiction cure. It's amazing for releasing the physical side. And I had COVID recently, and I cleared the spiritual side. And it was actually the Aboga spirit that stepped forward in my vision who cleared the physical side. It's a very powerful spirit. It just clears everything out that shouldn't be there physically. And it works for a lot of addicts. The reason it didn't work for me is because I simply didn't give it permission, because it would have taken away the journey and all the skills of study that I've been learning on this path. So 2016, I came to the jungle for the first time and did a 10-week Noya Rao dieta. And I did 3 weeks diet, and we had a break in town. And then I relapsed on cocaine and was cooking up crack and completely lost my mind and was running around town being chased by monsters and demons. And the police picked me up and tried to deport me. And luckily, with a little bribe by a very good friend of mine, they managed to let me go. And I went back to the camp and doubled up on diet and did a 7-week diet. And my maestro did a lot of work to straighten all that out. But Noya Rao was very understanding and forgiving because of why I came to the jungle. It wasn't really something in my control at that point in my evolution. But Noya Rao made me aware of these spirit energies. And I would see them like just jumping into the corner of my eye. And then in ceremony, like angels would be coming to me, and they would jump on top of the angels, these beings, going bundle, and like stop them from getting to me, or they would put them in like a catapult and fling away the light beings from me. And so I went to my maestro and said, I think this is one of the only questions I've ever asked him. What the hell are these? And he just laughed at me and walked off and said, they're your addiction demons. And I was like, addiction demons? What is he on about? I didn't even know if I believe in demons. And so that's where the journey began, in discovering what the hell these energies were. And in the beginning, I was like, are these made of my thought forms? Are these demons? And as I've already explained in the depossession video, I've given an understanding of what I've found these energies to mean, and that the concept of demon just does not exist for me in any way today. And then the Semaj curse I just talked about also surfaced on this diet. And as I've already said, Noya Rao guided me into regression therapy, which I studied after this course. And so a lot unfolded on that diet. A lot was awoken. And I ended up staying in Peru for 6 months and dieting for, I don't know, maybe, what was it, 18 weeks or something, before returning to the UK. And so that was the beginning of the diet. And I've done, I think, and then I came back to the UK and started studying regression, working through the Samaj curse, and then I had a life between life session. And this is something I touched on earlier, which I just wanted to talk about. So this was coined by a guy called Michael Newton. His books are incredible. Highly recommend his books. Probably the best books I ever read at the time. Journey of the Souls and Destiny of the Souls. And he was a clinical hypnotist. And he didn't believe in the afterlife, and he started taking people into past lives. And he's like, well, that's what's going on. And he started to become more open. And then he took them into this place called Between Lives, which he coined. And so between lives is when we die, what happens before we reincarnate. And so I did this journey that one of my friends guided me through. And it's something I'm trained in, which I'll be teaching in the future. but I was collected by this spirit, and this spirit took me like from the death scene in this past life, and took me to this place. And it was like a kind of courtroom. There was loads of tables, and at the front of all the tables was ETs, and at the back of the tables was humans like my uncles, aunties, my mum, brothers, dad. And I got to talk to all of these souls individually and ask our karma and contracts. And the past life played out on like a holographic screen, and we were stopping and going through certain scenes and certain teachings from the life. And the big teaching from this life was losing my wife through childbirth and brokenheartedness. And I'm very good friends. I found this soul in my current life now, which is a long story in itself. She's absolutely incredible, and yeah, I look forward to working with her more deeply in the future. And so, because of that, I was never able to have love in this life, because I went on celibacy for 3 years because getting conscious, I didn't want to be using people, but it wasn't to save others, it was to save me. And the reason I never allowed anyone in was because I was in fear of losing the love. If I opened my heart to receive love, I was in fear of losing it. And this sent me on a big process of transforming this energy, which is, again, quite a long story in itself. But just giving you a little bit of information to explain the framework of this area. So I got to speak to all of the members, and I won't go into the whole story, which I would love to, but it would just go on for too long. So what I learned from this connection is that when we pass over, we sit down with the soul group and plan out the next life, and we take the energy from the review and see what was past, what was not, and take that into the next life with a few other different things. And so then we agree as a collective who's going to play what role, father, brother, mum. All the roles can change. And then one big teaching I had from this was that I have 2 soul groups now. My old soul group, I've left them, and that's my blood family. And that's why, metaphorically, they were sat at the back of the tables. Now, the new group is like a ragtag band of ETs that I've put together. And I've been shown that I'm the teacher of this soul group. And it's all about awakening and evolution and healing abilities. And I've met a lot of members of this soul group now in my current life. And I'm excited for us to be working together on projects in the future. So yeah, it seems that I've always been destined to be a teacher. And this is what I enjoy most, teaching and empowering others to find within them everything they could ever desire. So once we formulated the plan, this spirit then took me. We were flying through the galaxy past all these stars, and this door was covered in stars. The door opened, and we went through, and there was this massive pyramid in this jungle landscape, but the top of the pyramid was cut off, which is symbolic in some way. And we went inside, and there was loads of pictures all on the walls of me, but different characters of all my other past lives. And then I was taken to meet my elders, and there was 3 wise spiritual elders. And so the wise spiritual elders help me in my plan. So they share their wisdom and knowledge to give me the best chance of succeeding in my plan. However, they won't tell me what I have to do. It's my own free will and choice and what I decide to implement or take out from the soul plan with their advice. So the first being I met was a humanoid being, and it had a chain around its neck with 2 keys, which had a symbolic meaning. The one on the right was an extraterrestrial. It had a necklace around its neck with 2 cross keys. Again, I had a symbolic meaning from that. The one on the left was, and they all told me their names, and I had long, thorough chats with them. The one on the left was like a humanoid owl being, and it had a chain around its neck with human fingers on it. And it said its name was Marusa, and I didn't believe it. And I just kept having to challenge it and discern, and it indeed was Marusa. And so Marusa is actually one of my plants that I've dieted in the jungle. Is also one of the elders of my soul group. And I guided a friend once who's in my soul group through a healing, and she also met Marusa as one of her spiritual elders. And my sense of humor, like we all wear like animal parts, plant parts as humans, as necklaces, decorations. And so Marusa, knowing my sense of humor, is, you wear all this, I'm going to wear human around my neck. The significance of the human fingers in talking to my sense of humor. So at the time, my Chirochaki diet had gone into Shatana. It had gone into its dark side. And it was a 1 year challenging teaching. And I figured it out. It took me nearly a year to figure out that it was out of alignment. And the reason I didn't know was because it was kind of hiding behind my shadows and I was just believing it was them. But luckily it was uncovered from a few of my friends pointing a few things out that I was blind to. And I was then able to see clearly what was going on. And so part of my intent for this was to learn to clear the Shatana. And the Shatana is, like I said, the dark aspect of that plant. And so we met Marusa and I brought this to her attention. And she just stuck her hand in my stomach and started to pull it out. And I just broke down. It was really emotional. And a lot of advice that I received from Western practitioners was, we only work with the light. If it's not a spirit of the light, tell it to go away. However, Chirochaki is my best friend. And I have an Ikaro. And one of the lines that was downloaded from Chirochaki, one of the lines is Raro Raro Chirochaki Westerori Noban. And that means dancing Chirochaki is my number one love across all time and space. So I would never give up on Chirochaki. And I hope this inspires you to never give up on anything you want, because anything is possible. And I always trusted, going through this process, that we would figure it out, and never once judged or gave up on his vibration, which is so important to me. And so we then met Chirochaki and went further into our contracts, which also bridges into the story of the Akash with Chirochaki. So I'll share it as one story of the findings that I've had past lives with Chirochaki. And in one past life, I was a sorcerer. And in 2016, I met a friend on the training course, the 10-week course. And his wife was pregnant at the time. And he didn't have one vision after 30 ceremonies on a 10-week course. And the maestro said to him, the reason he didn't have a vision because his unborn child was blocking him. So I went and trained my friend about a year ago. So like 4 or 5 years later, he still hasn't had a vision. And during the training, we went into this past life where we were brothers, working with Chirochaki and in competition and jealous of one another. And I put this curse on him, fueled with Chirochaki, that he would never progress further on me than the path, and would be blocked and would just be held back in any way. And with clearing that curse, after 5 years, we did a ceremony and he had visions for the first time. And these kind of things happen a lot with my friends, and their kind of reaction is, to me, like kind of bugger you, but thank you at the same time. And so that was one kind of life. Now, I also have lives with Chirochaki from the Orion system, that his energy is also incarnate in the Orion system, which is a very interesting story in itself. And what I was shown was that trees are incarnate as well as humans. They're not wise, ascended masters, although the neural vibration seems to be at that space now from all the work that the vibration has done in potentially reaching enlightenment in the way I've been shown it. But the other plants that have duality, they're on a journey just like we are in this matrix of duality, of getting to that space of balance and alignment. And because of all the past karmas and shit that I've had with Chirochaki, we've agreed to work together in this life in bringing it all into balance. And Chiwachaki is as much a student as a teacher to me as I am a student and teacher to him. And together we will work through this. Now, Chiwachaki's got quite a bad reputation on the internet, and people call him a trickster. He is not a trickster in any way. Shatana Chiwachaki is trickster, but Chiwachaki in itself, if it's in balance, is not a trickster in any way. He's a very loving, caring joker who has me giggling and laughing, and those giggle and laughs, because it's a very thin line when healing and laughing, because we don't want our unhealed energies within us to think we're laughing at them. But Chiwachaki is a real magician and master in bringing through the laughter at just the right time, just the perfect time. I can be crying 1 minute and laughing 1 minute, and it's always orchestrated so beautifully from the Chiwachaki vibration, which for me has super empowered all my child parts. It has taught me to be a child again that I couldn't be as a child. And my daughter's mum once said to me a derogatory thing, that I'm more childish than any of my daughter's friends. And I smiled and took that as a massive compliment. And the Chiwachaki really comes out with me, with children, and being playful. And I'm going to be doing a lot of writing about this so that people can see the real story of who Chiwachaki is choosing to become when worked with people in alignment of what it is I feel humanity is seeking for on this evolutionary path. So by learning all of that, I was able to really come into alignment with Chiwachaki. And from that day forward, my Chiwachaki diet, although one of my smallest diets, seemed the strongest diet I had. And the connection's insane. I only have to close my eyes and he's there every single time, like dancing or smiling, like doing his funny dances and stuff. Yeah, he's absolutely incredible. And if there was ever an ambassador for Chiwachaki, I would definitely be the man. So within this, it then dawned on me who the spirit guide was that was guiding me through this whole experience and supporting me in the plans. And I thought it was in the beginning, but it was a male, and the energy was Noya. So Noya was there. She picked me up from the last life and guided me and supported me in the planning of this incarnation. It's kind of written in stone, this working with Noya vibration in alignment with me, working towards reaching that place of balance and illumination. So the Noya vibration, when I dieted it, a lot of people was calling her, and it came through as a female energy for me. I'm more comfortable with female energy because of the way I perceived my dad. I didn't really trust male energy, so the feminine has always been something that I'm more open to. So it's a lot to do with beliefs in the way any given plant will show itself to us. But my maestro said the Meraya, or like the god of the whole Noya vibration, is male, and that's what I was shown in the Life Between Lives. And now I've started more connecting with that male side, Meraya side of the Noya vibration. Yeah, fascinating modality, and it can anything is possible to change. This is a revelation I came up with. Anything is possible to change, not anyone. Now the reason not anyone is because some soul may have decided, such as a father, that he's going to die with cancer within the soul group because he wants his children and family to really understand what it's like to learn grief. And that's a collective contract. And if that's been set, that will most likely unfold. And someone like that most likely would not be attracted to finding medicines that could really help cure any given cancer. But I truly believe that anything can be healed. And what can really help people is these modalities in life between life practice and ayahuasca and all these medicines can really help people make peace with what is. And in the life between lives place, going into the contracts and fully understanding and seeing what can be changed, what can't, having a higher awareness, it can really aid and support humanity in finding peace with their lives and any given traumas and stuff they've been through. And I've recommended some friends to read the Michael Newton books. And they've just from reading those books, they made so much peace with a lot of what they went through in their childhood. And yeah, maybe it's not fully resolved and there's still some work to do. But consciously, they can really see a higher perspective now and step really into a responsibility from that conscious awareness to meet those child parts and empower them to come more into alignment with where their conscious awareness is. Okay, so that's this area. Now, many diets, many revelations, many teachings, but it's a long story. So as this course is about Noya Rao, I'm going to stick more with the Noya Rao thread within the way I deliver my story. So the last Noya Rao diet I did, and just to let you know that through the Marusa connection, I've dieted it twice, and I'm now doing a 1-year diet. Because of this connection, I've been so inspired to connect deeply with this spirit. That is an incredible plant. So the last Noya Rao diet I did was a 12-week diet. And it was probably the most profound diet I've ever done. So it's pretty much in isolation. I just met my partner at the time for a few hours a day in the evenings. And the rest of the time was just me and Noya Rao and going deeply into the practice and fasting, not eating food for 73 days. And it was magical. Now, the highlights of the diet was from the Chuachaki practice, the Chuachaki Sadhana practice. We took that into the Noya Rao diet. Well, more Noya Rao brought it to my attention that this was kind of like a tag team of Noya Rao going into my Marusa diet. So Noya Rao showed me the darkness in all medicines and diets I'd done. I don't know if I'm going to share this now or make a separate video for the Noya Rao story. I feel it would be better to put this in a story just about Noya Rao. So you've got a little taste of what Noya Rao is about, and I will continue this with another story because this training course is all about working with Noya Rao. So I want this to be delivered in one video in a more precise way rather than repeating myself. So I've tried to keep my story as basic as possible, and like I said, I've done many diets, fastly approaching nearly 3 years of diets now. And it's very magical, and who I've become today from all these practices is someone deeply loving and compassionate who really takes responsibility for what I attract to myself today. And a lot of people don't get me or understand me. If someone's sending negative energies to me, they don't understand how compassionate I am because of the level of awareness I have through doing my practice for so long, daily. I really like to be of service and help the less fortunate, and I have a very giving nature, and a lot within these traditions, especially with Iboga, they don't really teach you anything. It's all steeped in tradition and secret and hidden. And it's kind of the same story with the Shabibos. And I'm looking to teach you everything and not hold back on anything. And I've been searching for a teacher who shares my vision, and I feel I may have found that teacher now, who will I am working towards working together in bridging everything I've learned with his Shipibo knowledge and traditions to share all. And I feel it's quite important um, in the way to teach Westerners, because um, most of us have lives back home and we don't have 10 years spare to come and sit in the jungle and learn directly from a plant, but from the foundations of what we teach, it gives you a real head start in learning directly from the plants. And my life is completely transformed. Um, Everything outside of me is more mirroring who I prefer to be. And I just feel so blessed and so lucky to have found this path, and just feel so far away from that broken, lost boy the story began with. And yeah, I will just continue to grow from strength to strength, and everything I learn will be integrated into these courses each year as we blossom and move forward. So thank you for listening to a little bit about my story, and I would really love to make you a part of my story also. Thank you.